Welcome to the World of Pop Culture podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the World of Pop Culture. Today I am discussing boy bands. If you see my previous video, you know I rated top boy bands along with their songs, and today I am going more in depth in that video of boy band culture and the evolution of boy bands and my opinion on boy bands to this day, and basically why they're essential to pop culture. Because this is what this podcast is all about, guys.
Welcome to the World of Pop Culture podcast.
So first off, let's talk about the evolution of boy bands. We all know boy bands have been around a long time. From the 60s to 70s to the 80s to the 90s. They are a crucial part in the music industry. And the boy bands in the 90s are the ones that we all really know and very popularized. They're the ones that had those awful matching clothes and the awful haircuts and some cheesy pop lyrics and songs that we all hate to admit that we sing along to. There were the NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. Both had breakout star Justin Timberlake. And God, his haircuts was so awful in the NSYNC group. Like, geez, cornrows really, and bleached ramen noodles haircut? What is that even? But it's important to acknowledge that those boy bands led a way for other boy bands to come into the industry, and the way they were formed and the way they were together helped with constructing the idea of forming groups of people and not just groups being formed because they were friends. There were a lot of that in the earlier days of groups just forming, like New Edition formed because they were like friends. But other groups are put together and constructed by different ways. And now it's so much easier for groups to become successful because of social media. You don't need a huge management company. You don't need all of that. All you need is social media to promote your stuff and become successful. And if a bunch of people catch wind of it, they'll share it, and you can become successful because of it. And you can guarantee a fan base. But you also have to acknowledge there's a lot of people who try to do boy bands who are coming up and doing all of that. So you have to bring something different to it.
Welcome to the World of Pop Culture podcast.
Now, I brought up fan bases. Every industry, music, movies, TV show, or anything has a fan base. And that fan base guarantees that you'll be successful. And if you latch onto a good fan base that are loyal, you can become successful. And that's what boy bands are latching on to. These fan bases start off young, and they grow up and they're still with you. So, and it's probably easier when you are on TV to get your name out. Like One Direction did when they entered the X Factor UK. They got a fan base easily from the UK. But people in America didn't watch the X Factor UK. So they didn't know about One Direction until it spread to the internet. And therefore social media became an impactful experience for the boys to become successful. Now, it seems ridiculous to talk about the success of One Direction guaranteed because of the fact that they're no longer together. But the fact is, it's important to talk about the past of these breakout stars and these solo artists, and talk about their past of, like, Justin Timberlake wouldn't existed without NSYNC. He wouldn't become as successful without the fan base of NSYNC fans, because NSYNC fans are loyal, and therefore most people will follow the solo albums and the solo projects of each member. It seems ridiculous to think that, but fans are loyal, And especially when your favorite group decides to take a little time off, and you want to see what everyone else is going to do in that time off and the space, you will do anything to be able to enjoy these past members' experience and what they're doing. Now, Justin Timberlake was the breakout star, solo star of NSYNC. Every group has it, but the thing is, except one group, Backstreet Boys didn't have a breakout star. I mean, of course, we know Nick Carter.
Welcome to the World of Pop Culture Podcast.
But is it because of his brother being Aaron Carter that we know him? Because he is more successful when he's in Backstreet Boys. And it's the fact that one member of One Direction even said that they are more successful when they're together, and they will always be more successful together. But here I'm thinking is, how do you define success? Is another question. Success is an objective and it's a subjective topic and idea of success. Success is different for other people. Is success about the money? Because if it is, then you are not getting paid as much as if you're a solo artist. If you're in a group, you have to share the amount of money that you get. But the fact that someone can realize that they are more successful together as a unit than separately showcases a way of maturity level and understanding that the group is what helped them get to the place they are. But it also begs the question of, is it possible
Welcome to the World of Pop Culture Podcast.
for boy bands to last forever? According to Backstreet Boys, it is possible, but according to many other groups, it's not. And it's a very convoluted topic of, should I do this, should I do that? And it's like, people nowadays is more nostalgia than ever. They want to remember the 90s because they think the 90s is the best time there was. And maybe it was. I was born in 96, so I really don't know. I don't know much about the 90s. But the outfits, the matching clothes, the individuality wasn't there for them. Now, it seems like it's important to acknowledge that
Welcome to the World of Pop Culture Podcast.
people don't give the respect to boy bands because they think they're cheesy. The music is cheesy. The music videos are cheesy. Everything about it is cheesy. But let me tell you something. There are some groups who have really good songs and really catchy songs, and maybe sometimes their lyrics are cheesy, but that's when they're first starting out. But later on the line, they get better at writing this stuff. And most groups get a chance to write their own music compared to when they're first starting out. They don't get a chance to write the music, but later on, as they develop as a group, they get to write their own stuff. And boy bands teach you valuable lessons of how to collaborate with people and how to respect other people's ideas and wishes, which is important in today's society, I believe. Now, but let's also talk about the fact that
Welcome to the World of Pop Culture Podcast.
boy bands can simply say hiatus, and it brings a veil in the community of how boy bands don't actually last long. And even the boy bands you think are stable enough don't last long. But because of pride, ego, and everything else, and to me it's important to acknowledge where you came from and acknowledge that without that success, you won't make it as a solo artist. And I think that's very important for I know I talk about the personal and the art of artists, and it's hard for people, Directioners, to get on board of saying after he said he never wanted to be in the One Direction group ever. To acknowledge that, but you have to, in a way, separate the art from the individual. Like, you have to separate the actor from the role they play. They're not the same, and I think it's easier to do that more so than ever. Boy bands are a major aspect of pop culture, and it's time that people realize that. And I know a lot of people, the Backstreet Boys, have an issue with boy bands not dancing anymore, but I'm like, times are different now. They also don't wear matching clothes either, so get over yourself. Interesting how boy bands are now being formed, and you can see it on reality TV shows more so than ever. And even though these boy bands can be formed and they become friends, it's still evidential that boy bands that are formed with friends cannot even last. The boy band aspect and the music and the albums can create a sort of pressure, and egos can be formed, and everyone's headspace is different. Can still cause a boy band to break up, but let's be honest, without boy bands, people won't have any guilty pleasure. I'm not saying boy bands should be a guilty pleasure. I'm just saying, what you answer when someone asks what is your guilty pleasure? You won't have anything to say, to be honest. So, in conclusion, boy bands are essential to pop culture, and I will be very upset if anyone insult boy bands as a whole, because they have some good songs and they sing well. That's another thing I want to talk about before I end this. Boy bands are, people say,
Welcome to the World of Pop Culture Podcast.
Boy bands are successful because of their looks. Yes, looks get you in the door, but it's also personality and talent that keeps people to stay. If you have to show who you are in interviews upon interviews to make people like you. And without a personality, a good personality, or if you're not funny or joking, a joker, then it kind of gets flat. So yes, looks get you in the door, but that's with every single industry and every single job you ever get. But talent and personality keeps fans from staying. So thank you guys for listening and watching the In the World of Pop Culture podcast episode. This has been wrapped, so check out next Sunday where I talk about music videos on the next podcast. It will be uploaded at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can check out my other videos on Saturday, so hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.